Hello, I'm Toycat, and welcome back to my second channel video. So I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had a conversation with friends or family over the past few weeks saying something along the lines of, hey, how is your job affected by current pandemic facing the world? And when it comes to being a YouTuber, people are like, yeah, you must be doing really well right now, everyone's inside, right? And the simple answer to that question is yes, it is going quite well. If you look at my revenue for the last 28 days, you can see how it's actually gone up 36% and I earned $1,326, which is nice. As a result of that, you can effectively say that as a result of pandemic, or at least during pandemic, I'm making more money right now than was being made before. I am directly profiting from the bad situation facing the world, and it's super interesting. But and I'd love to talk about the whole like how some things can do well when there's a big collapse everywhere else. But I also want to talk about the fact that actually, if you look at the numbers a bit more, it's a more interesting tale because you can see how views are up 107%, watch time is up a almost similar amount, but revenue is up a really tiny amount by comparison. So there's a whole interesting thing going with ads that I'd like to talk about in objective numbers because YouTubers mention it briefly, but here's the actual deep dive on that, and let's do that today. So first of all, let's go to analytics because this is the dashboard that shows you the brief overview. Here's your last video, how badly / well it went. Here's some mid-roll ads that you should enable. I don't on my videos on this channel right now, at least for numbers reasons, by the way. Here's the last 28 days summarized, but we can actually get more detail than that, looking at graphs even, because who doesn't love graphs? If we go to the analytics page just over here, so analytics shows us how, yeah, pretty much, again, look at the 29th of May, you can see there is this drastic change starting there, how all of a sudden things went up, and they've pretty much remained up ever since. I'd say it looks like yesterday is a key exception to that rule, where things are down to almost as bad as they were before, or almost as low as they were before by comparison, but things are going pretty well, it roughly looks like. Same with earnings, you can be like, oh yeah, there's a couple of big spikes in there, and those spikes are very interesting. We'll talk about why those are later, but you can see how like, oh yeah, earnings are up, but again, the curves are not, the curve, the points and the curves, etc., are nowhere near as severe on this one as they are for this one and this one, which are, again, very closely correlated. So, first of all, let's talk about the fact that, hey, I guess we should mention that, like, 1.1 million views, going pretty well. 9.3 thousand subscribers, going pretty well on the objective numbers. Like, if you look at again, the things that as a YouTuber you probably want people to watch your videos and people to sign up to watch more of your videos, those things are going super well with a big increase in traffic to the videos starting on the 29th. You can see this when you go to like reach of the videos, where like, hey, your videos were seen by more people starting on the 30th, which means effectively YouTube started showing those videos to more people on their homepages, and then the number of people who clicked on them has stayed roughly the same. I mean, no one was hugely more interested day to day. I mean, 0.5% more interested, but you can see how it's roughly steady throughout the month. But you can see how it was just shown to a bunch more people because YouTube has a lot more, traffic on their site. They need to show more videos, and there's only so many new videos they can show. So it seems as though they started showing older videos as well as new videos on a much higher frequency than they were doing before, which suggests the simple theory of what is actually happening. More people are at home watching YouTube videos, it seems, or have more time to watch YouTube videos, and as a result, YouTube has more videos, has to find more videos to show them, which means that if you're someone like me, the number of impressions your videos get can double in, again, literally one day. I don't know why the 30th was when my channel doubled right there. There's no particular pandemic date you can line that up with, but it seems as though some magic flip, a switch within the system happened that day, and you can see how all of a sudden everything is much higher since then, with a few peaks even going higher after that. So what happened? I got more views because more people were shown my videos, because YouTube needs to show more videos. More of those people chose to subscribe, and all of those people more of those people saw some form of an ad, which means I made more money. Boom. Open shut case, right? But again, it's a bit more complex, especially if we look at like some longer history. Let's look at all of 2020 for comparison, where you can see like, yeah, actually things are going really well across the entire thing, especially when you look at views. This is like the best part of the year. I think this might be the best time we've had for the channel as a whole. If we go like all the way to the lifetime of this channel, you can see how like, yeah, actually there's been some better individual days, but as far as a sustained period of time, things are going really well here on the second channel, with the exception being here in revenue. So as a YouTuber, by the way, this channel has lifetime earned $26,000. That's interesting to know, actually. But that's over the last, what was that, like 9 years? Although the reality, most of that was made in the last 4 or 5 years, it looks like. So, that's kind of cool. There's a fun little fact about this. But if we go to 2020 again, you can see how we've earned $4,251 so far in 2020. I'm sharing these details because I feel like putting the information out there is fine, by the way. Not a flex, just want to throw that out. I mean, honestly, is $4,000 in 4 months like a big flex? Maybe it is. It depends on your living situation. I feel like certain parts of the world, that's like absurdly rich, certain parts of the world absurdly poor. Where I am, I'd say like it's survivable, but like at the edge of survivable by itself. Just want to mention that right now for anything else. But yeah, if we look at the actual numbers right here, you can see how the revenue is up for this part of the year compared to last year. The number of people who are shown an ad has gone up significantly compared to last year, but the amount of money has gone down. This is the kind of stark contrast that we need to see to actually point out what's happening. Money, the amount of money we can actually, the amount of views that had an ad before them effectively has gone way up, and the amount of views the amount you're making per one has gone down. You can really see right here how like over 2020 it's averaged somewhere between $4 or $5, sometimes $6. Usually at the end of the month there's a big boost because marketing departments have like a lot of money to spend. So we look to the 20th of February. What's that? Oh yeah, there's a similar rise and decline. Then the end of March should have seen something like that. But instead what's happened is at the end of March, things have just kind of trailed down and down and down, all the way to the lowest levels of $2.64, which again, compared to a regular average of like roughly double that, effectively means that every view that you get on YouTube, if it shows an ad, which isn't as guaranteed, will make less money, which is how monetized playbacks can be way up and CPM can be way down at the same time. The amount being made per 1,000 views, because if you're curious, this isn't $4.20, this isn't $2.64 an ad. A lot of people make that misconception, like, people must pay a lot of money to advertise to me. No, as an individual, you're very worthless. Like, an ad in your brain has some value, like when you make a future purchasing decision, you might choose Coke over Pepsi or whatever example, but the when you're advertising to thousands, you can actually start to influence sales by a significant percentage, which is why $2.64 is actually, I just want to clarify, for Google, you have to specifically not talk about ad rates. This doesn't reflect directly one-to-one what advertisers are paying, because YouTube takes a cut, and also there's a lot of specifics that went into this, but it means that the average that advertisers are paying has gone down significantly by about half. $2.64 is not what they pay to get to you. There's a lot of steps in between. But this is like the rough value of someone per 1,000 views now compared to back then. And the simplest explanation I can come up with is like, hey, no one has money to advertise because they're trying to keep their businesses desperately afloat right now. So the other interesting thing right now about what you can take from this is that if you look at my revenue sources for 2019, you'll see how it's 100% ad revenue with YouTube Premium revenue, i.e. people who have YouTube Premium watching my videos, and YouTube pays me a slight portion of their subscription revenue. That's just how that works if you don't know, because if you don't get ads on this channel as a result of buying YouTube Premium, the content creator is paid a certain amount. That's why you would do it over piracy, because if you just have ad block on, it's like, yeah, it's the same as paying YouTube money, but then the content creator doesn't get some percentage. You don't have to care about that. I'm just mentioning it as like I care about it. So yeah, as you can see right here, like, oh yeah, so last year there was like $5,151 made by ad revenue, $635 made by YouTube Premium revenue, and then $30 made by transactions, which in this case, if you're curious, means super chats on string for the most part. And I think that's everything. Okay, that's fine. We're allowed to show you this. I cannot show you any ad rates for reasons relating to a contract I signed with Google. But you can see how, like, yeah, transaction revenue, super chats, channel. One person had a channel membership last year. Huh. Today I learned. So if we look at 2020 by comparison, you can see how ads are now a far smaller part of that, but then YouTube Premium revenue is a higher percentage by comparison because people are still paying the same amount to YouTube Premium, which means that when ads go down, YouTube Premium makes up a bigger share, and also far more people are choosing to make a transaction of some form, including a super chat or a channel membership. Why did my revenue go way up on these 2 days right here? This one and this one, because if you look at the videos I've released, or rather the video I didn't release, you can actually see how, like, oh yeah, this is when I made my my live stream explaining the 50 biggest countries in Europe, and this was the one where I did I think it was road tripping Google Maps. I did a couple of dumb live streams this month. Basically, a lot of people chose the super chat, and you can see how in a normal year it's not so noticeable, but the direct support from people is far more noticeable during these times. And you can say like, oh yeah, YouTubers are earning more because there are more views anyway. Entirely fine if you want to have that view, but I want to make this video as a mention of like, hey, did you know ad rates are way down? So the amount that a YouTuber actually makes per 1,000 views, per amount of like, per results has gone down. But as a result, if you see people doing more merch sales where they make the same amount of money, or doing more super chatty stuff or whatever else. For instance, I actually turn on memberships on this channel. Apparently they were enabled last year. They must have got unenabled, but we have membership enabled, so there's 7 members on this channel. It's a fun thing. Look, we got $24 in membership revenue in April 2020 because some people decided to become members. That was really nice of them. Right now, the perks are pretty bareback of just like, hey, you want to support a channel, and also I think there's a playlist of unlisted videos. I'm not too sure. That's how that one works. And yeah, it's a simple thing of just like, yeah, during times where revenue gets really weird, you've got to start to then look at ways to diversify that, because ideally you should be diversified anyway. It's just when things go down is when you appreciate that. However, luckily enough, even though ad revenue is way down, more people are watching YouTube videos and things are pretty good right now. It seems, at least. So how are things going? Things are going pretty well. How are they going pretty well when the world is in going crazy? I mean, here's the US, just because the US is a easy country to measure. Here is the US's great lockdown period. It's been, again, if you compare the 4 weeks of this compared to the stagflation of the 75s, compared to the dot-com bust, compared to the double-dip recession of 1982, or the Great Recession of 2009, which wasn't actually so great by historic standards, but like it's the only big thing in our lifetime till this thing right here, right? But yeah, the Great Lockdown is obviously much bigger than all of those by a factor of 10, and this seems real bad. Like, how did unemployment just go up? You know, how did 22 million people become unemployed? Which, by the way, looks like this when you chart it out. It's insane. How does that look like? You know, it's more people than Burkina Faso were unemployed in the US in just the last month or so. It looks pretty bad when you say it like that. But this, bear in mind that even though 22 million people became unemployed, the vast majority, you know, it's realistically 23 million people became unemployed and 1 million people got a new job, or something along those lines. There is always some good and some bad coming out of the thing. And actually, let's just as a little fun statistic here, because when you say 22 million are unemployed, and that is a huge percentage, 6.7% up, it looks really bad as like, oh god, how do you recover from that? But fortunately, the reason why it's not so bad is if you live in a major Western country, like, again, the climate is concerning, but if you look at the long-term trends, you've got like fortunately enough, we live in most people watching this video live in countries where unemployment's been declining. The US's rate has been on a pretty steady decline for the last 10 years. The UK rate was at its highest in like the 80s, as you can see, and has been pretty steadily declining ever since then too. We're luckily in like a good place where, like, if there are lots of bad things happening, but always bear in mind there's like a tiny bit of like, there's always, you know, when you look at a number like unemployment, when you look at a number like GDP, it shows you the overall statistics of what is happening. You know, like the GDP of America, it's always going up. But even though things are going well for America, the country, there are individual Americans for whom it is going badly, right? And in this same situation, you can say the inverse. Even though things are going badly and more people are becoming unemployed right now, there are some people for whom it's going well. Delivery services would be an easy example. A trillion other things like that, like, you know, supermarkets, obviously. Healthcare is like just hiring anyone they can at this point. Things are being accelerated in very particular industries because it's the same with wars and stuff too. Like, when things go bad, it's not going bad for everyone. It's going bad for the average. And when things go well, they're not going well for everyone. It's going well for the average. And that's why measurements are a good indicator, but you can't act like it applies to everyone's situation. And yeah, what I'm basically saying right here is your boy making money. Yeah, but no, in all more seriousness, it's a pretty bad situation. Would like for it to be gone, even if that means fewer people watch YouTube videos, because what I care about is the world. And cash money, am I right? Yeah, paper money, good British money. I mean, yeah, before we go though, because, you know, while I'm showing you behind the scenes anyway, did you know you can see who's subscribed to your YouTube channel? And you can, like, sort them by, like, who's got the most subscribers. So we can see, like, hey, did you know a guy with 2.2 million subscribers has subscribed to me? I bet they did it as a bot thing. I hope they enjoy my content, but I doubt they do. We got a guy from Czechia called Chocolate. I like the name pun there. We got a lot of people with over 100,000 subscribers. My editor is actually 10th. So Canubis, if you're watching this, you're my 10th most subscribed subscriber. Does that feel good? I hope it feels good. You should feel good. And if you're not subscribed to Canubis, it's kind of a cool situation. Like, he watched me independently of me watching him. And then I started, like, I was like, hey. And then I think I said, like, hey, do you want to edit videos? And he was like, yeah. It's been a while since we've done a thing together. But just want to mention that there's a cool little thing in that, like, educational YouTubers watching each other. Is this channel educational, actually? There's the question I want to leave for all of you. And the other question I want to leave for all of you is, did you know I can also see the comments of membership people? So I sometimes go through those, be like, hey, what do we have to say? And it's a fun little, like, separate comment sorter. Because as I've shown off on this channel before, there's like, you can go through like the worst comments, like ones where people are doing crazy things that get flagged as spam. You can go through your normal comments for sure too. And you can also go by comments you haven't responded to. You can do a lot of things with comments, is what I'm trying to say. Contains questions. You can also go by subscriber count or channel member. Basically what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of like searching, and YouTube has a lot of data available. And just remember that I've got the data, so my eyes are on you. Or are your eyes on me? Effectively, actually, that one's more correct, isn't it? Anyway, thank you for watching. Second channel. Don't care. Goodbye.